Canada Express Entry Program Eligibility Frequent Asked Questions. 1. Am I eligible for Express Entry? To be eligible for Express Entry, candidates must meet the criteria of at least one of the following federal economic immigration programs. Federal Skilled Worker Program, the FSWP, is Canada's primary economic immigration pathway. The minimum requirements include at least 1 year of continuous full-time or equivalent paid work experience in the past 10 years in a skilled occupation under the National Occupational Classification, NOC, TER Category 0, 1, 2 or 3, validated intermediate or better language ability in English or French, for candidates educated outside of Canada, an educational credential, certificate, diploma, or degree, and an Educational Credential Assessment, ECA, report. In addition to meeting the FSWP's minimum work, language ability, and education requirements, candidates must also obtain at least 67 points under its points grid. Canadian Experience Class. The CEC provides international students and foreign workers who have Canadian experience with the opportunity to obtain permanent residence. Candidates must have obtained at least 1 year of skilled, professional, or technical work experience in Canada within 3 years of the application date, and also meet language proficiency criteria. Federal Skilled Trades Program. The FSTP is available to candidates who want to become permanent residents on the basis of qualifying for a skilled trade. Eligibility criteria include having a minimum of 2 years of full-time work experience in a skilled trade within the 5-year period of submitting an application, meet the job requirements of the skilled trade, have a full-time job offer in Canada for a period of at least 1 year or possess a certificate of qualification in the skilled trade that has been provided by an official Canadian authority, and meet language proficiency criteria. 2. How can I become eligible for Express Entry? You have various options to become eligible for Express Entry. The first thing you can do is identify why you are currently ineligible. For example, you may not be eligible under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, FSWP, because you do not meet one or more of the FSWP's minimum work, language ability, or education requirements. Addressing the reason for your ineligibility is the first way you can submit an Express Entry profile. The second major step you can take is pursue an education pathway towards Canadian permanent residence. To be eligible for the Canadian Experience Class, CEC, program, you need at least 1 year of eligible Canadian work experience within the last 3 years, and also meet the minimum language proficiency requirements. You can become eligible for the CEC, and hence Express Entry, by studying in Canada, and then working in Canada after you complete your studies. An added benefit of this approach is you will be rewarded with more comprehensive ranking system, CRS, points due to your Canadian education and work experience. You have many other options if you do not become eligible for Express Entry, since Canada operates over 100 different skilled worker immigration streams. 3. What Canadian immigration options do I have? Canada offers over 100 different immigration streams for skilled workers who want to obtain a Canadian permanent resident visa. You can pursue one or more of these options at the same time. Express Entry. Canada welcomes most of its skilled worker immigrants through Express Entry. Provincial Nominee Program, PNP. It is the second major way that Canada welcomes skilled workers. Quebec. The province of Quebec operates its own immigration system to recruit skilled workers. Other federal immigration programs. In addition to its Express Entry programs, IRCC offers other skilled worker immigration pathways. Options include moving to Canada's Atlantic provinces, rural and northern communities, working as a caregiver, working in the agri-food sector, starting a business, or being a self-employed person. Pursue a study pathway. Studying in Canada is a major stepping stone towards obtaining a permanent resident visa through the above immigration options. Work in Canada. If you already have a job offer in Canada, you can begin your immigration journey by moving to Canada on a work permit, and then pursuing the above options to transition to immigration status. 4. How can I calculate my Express Entry CRS score? Canada Visa offers a free tool, so you can calculate your Express Entry Comprehensive Ranking System score. 5. Is my CRS score enough under Express Entry? Reviewing the most recent Express Entry results is the best way to know what CRS scores are competitive for those hoping to receive an invitation to apply for a Canadian permanent resident visa. You should not feel discouraged if your CRS score is currently below recent CRS cutoff requirements. CRS score requirements change in each Express Entry draw. Changes to CRS cutoffs can be very volatile. If your CRS score is slightly lower than recent cutoffs, you may patiently wait in the hopes that the cutoff will eventually include candidates with your CRS score. You can also look at ways to improve your CRS score. If your CRS score is significantly lower than recent cutoffs, you too should not feel demoralized. Being in the Express Entry pool provides you with the opportunity to receive a provincial nomination, which will essentially guarantee that you will be successful under Express Entry. In the meantime, you can also look to obtain a job offer in Canada, improve your CRS score, pursue other Canadian immigration programs, or pursue a study pathway to a permanent resident visa. 6. How can I improve my Express Entry CRS score? Ways to improve your Express Entry Comprehensive Ranking System score include: ensure you claim all the CRS points you are eligible for. Improve your language test score. Have your spouse as the principal applicant. Obtain more education. Obtain more work experience. Study and work in Canada. Here is a more detailed explanation on how you can improve your Express Entry Comprehensive Ranking System score. 7. Will the Express Entry CRS score go down? No one, including IRCC, can predict whether Express Entry CRS cutoff scores will increase or decrease, since Express Entry is a dynamic system. No one knows what the CRS distribution of Express Entry candidates will be. When there is a large number of Express Entry candidates with high CRS scores, the CRS cutoff tends to be higher. When this number of candidates is lower, the CRS cutoff becomes lower. As you can see, Express Entry results vary widely. CRS cutoff scores can fluctuate significantly within a matter of weeks, including dropping or increasing by a large number of points. If you are eligible for Express Entry, it is usually in your best interests to enter the pool irrespective of your CRS score, since it provides you with a greater chance to eventually immigrate to Canada. Remember that aside from your language test and obtaining an Educational Credential Assessment, ECA, it is free to enter the Express Entry pool, so you do not lose anything even if you have doubts about your CRS score. You will need to complete a language test and obtain an ECA for most skilled worker immigration programs, so cost is not a prohibitive factor in entering the Express Entry pool. 8. Should I enter the Express Entry pool if I have a low CRS? Entering the Express Entry pool, if you are eligible, is beneficial for you since it increases your chances of successfully immigrating to Canada. First, as mentioned above, it is free to enter the Express Entry pool. You incur some costs before entering the pool for your language test and ECA, but these are costs you will need to incur for the majority of Canadian immigration programs you wish to apply to. Express Entry CRS cutoff scores are always fluctuating and are impossible to predict. What may seem like a low CRS score could be enough to eventually secure an invitation to apply for permanent residence. While you are in the Express Entry pool, you can work on improving your CRS score, such as by retaking your language test, gaining more eligible professional work experience and/or education, or working and studying in Canada. While on the pool, you may obtain an invitation to apply for a provincial nomination, which will essentially guarantee you will receive an invitation to apply, ITA, for a Canadian permanent resident visa. You may also receive a Canada job offer while in the pool, which may give you a high enough CRS score to obtain an ITA for permanent residence. You can apply directly to other Canadian immigration programs while you are in the Express Entry pool. 9. Is my language test CLB level good enough for Express Entry? There are two components to answer this question. The first component is identifying whether your CLB level is enough to make you eligible for an Express Entry program. The second component is identifying whether your CLB level is enough to make your CRS score competitive. First, you need to ensure your CLB level meets the requirements of one of the three Express Entry programs. Federal Skilled Worker Program, you need at least a CLB 7 for reading, writing, speaking, and listening in one of the official languages to be eligible under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Canadian Experience Class, you need at least a CLB 7 across all for language abilities under the Canadian Experience Class, CEC, if you have a NOC TER category of 0 or 1. You need at least a CLB 5 across all for language abilities under the CEC, if you have a NOC TER 2 or 3 category. Federal Skilled Trades Program, you need a minimum CLB 5 for speaking and listening, and at least CLB 4 for reading and writing. Secondly, you want to ensure that you get the highest possible CLB level on your language exam. If you are a single Express Entry candidate, for example, a total of 310 CRS points will be available to you if you take official language tests in both English and French. Even if you only take a test in one language, example, English, you need to consider how much weight IRCC places on your language test score in the comprehensive ranking system. Before you take your language test, make sure to study diligently. Even if you are fluent in English and/or French, you should study for the test to ensure you get the highest CLB level you can. If you believe you are capable of getting an even higher CLB level, you are welcome to retake your language test as many times as you wish until you obtain a language test score you are comfortable with. 10. What is the difference between Express Entry and the PNP? In Canada, the federal government and provinces and territories can operate their own immigration programs. However, the federal government makes the final decision on whether a candidate can obtain permanent residence. Express Entry manages 3 of the numerous economic immigration programs operated by the federal government. The Provincial Nominee Program, PNP, allows provinces and territories to signal to the federal government that an immigration candidate meets the economic needs of their region. Such candidates obtain a provincial nomination, which they can use to support their permanent residence application submitted to the federal government. A provincial nomination is the single most valuable factor under Express Entry's CRS, and results in an Express Entry candidate receiving an additional 600 points towards their CRS score, which essentially guarantees they will receive an ITA. Even if an Express Entry candidate does not initially have a high enough ranking score to receive an ITA from the federal government, they may obtain a nomination from a province or territory through Express Entry, increase their CRS score by 600 points, and then obtain an ITA from the federal government during the next draw from the Express Entry pool. 11. What makes a job offer valid under Express Entry? IRCC states that a valid job offer under Express Entry generally meets the following criteria. Is full-time and not a seasonal job. Is at least 1 year. Is a skilled job that falls under TEER Category 0, 1, 2, or 3 in the National Occupational Classification, NOC. Be recent, example, within the last 1 year. Not be from an embassy, consulate, or high commission. Job offers must be written and outline the likes of your duties, pay, and conditions of employment, example, which hours you will work. Job offers often need to be supported by a Labor Market Impact Assessment, LMIA, but there are jobs that are exempt from the LMIA requirement. If an LMIA is required, your employer must apply for one by submitting an application to Employment and Social Development Canada/Service Canada. Valid job offers under Express Entry are worth either 50 or 200 additional CRS points. Valid job offers under NOC TEER Category 1, 2, and 3 are awarded 50 additional CRS points. Job offers under NOC TEER Category 0 are eligible for 200 additional CRS points. 12. Which Express Entry job offers are exempt from requiring an LMIA? An LMIA is not required for an Express Entry job offer to be valid if all 3 of these conditions are met. You have continued to work full-time for the employer on your work permit for at least 1 year, or you have worked for the employer part-time for an equivalent length of time as 1 year. The job offer fulfills other requirements for it to be valid, such as it falling under NOC TEER Category 0, 1, 2, or 3, being recent, example, within the last 1 year, and not being from a diplomatic mission in Canada. You have a work permit that is exempt from an LMIA under an international agreement, such as CUSMA, formerly known as NAFTA, Federal Provincial Agreement, or the Canadian Interests category. Examples of Canadian Interests exemptions are available here. If you are working in the skilled trades, you can receive job offers from up to 2 employers, and you must work for both of them. 13. I am already working in Canada. Does this count as a job offer? No. A work permit is not a job offer. A job offer is valid under Express Entry if, among other eligibility criteria, your employer has provided you with a written full-time job offer for 1 year or more if you receive permanent residence approval, and your employer obtains an LMIA if one is required, or the job offer falls under an LMIA exemption. 14. What are the best ways to increase my Express Entry score? The best way to increase your comprehensive ranking system, CRS, score is to obtain a provincial nomination. To do this, you can apply directly to a PNP stream that is aligned with Express Entry. You can also enter the Express Entry pool, so a province can potentially invite you to apply through their PNP. Obtaining a provincial nomination will provide you with 600 additional CRS points, which will guarantee that you will receive an invitation to apply for permanent residence from IRCC. You can obtain either 50 or 200 extra CRS points if you obtain a job offer that is valid under Express Entry. Another major way to improve your Express Entry CRS score is by obtaining the highest score possible on your English or French test. Language is a major component of the CRS. Other ways to improve your CRS score are available here. 15 is for 40/for 50/for 60/for 70 a good CRS score. The Express Entry CRS cutoff score is dynamic and varies from draw to draw. You should always identify how to maximize your CRS score, irrespective of what it is. This means ensuring you claim all the points you are eligible for based on your education, work experience, language skills, and other CRS criteria. If you believe your current CRS score is too low, identify what steps you can take to improve it, such as by retaking your language test, obtaining more work experience and/or education, as well as obtaining a provincial nomination or a job offer that is valid under Express Entry.